This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you so much, Nicole, for being here, and I'll let you begin.
Okay, good evening, everyone. And again, I'm from the 2020 census, and I'm just going to give you some information about the 2020 census and show you the response rate mapper. So the Census Bureau is the largest statistical agency here in the United States, and we do more than 130 surveys. So right now, the 2020 census is our decennial census, and we do that every 10 years. But we also have other surveys. We have the American Community Survey, which you may still receive in the mail. So if you are receiving those surveys in the mail, we would like for you to do those surveys in addition to the 2020 census. This website, these links show you if your home is in a survey sample. If you think you have something fraudulent, you can use this phone number, the 1-800, the 923-8282, to report something fraudulent. On our website, if you go and you see this, where the census bag, and you look right here, is where you would go to see to verify if you received a mailing from the Census Bureau. So the 2020 census is to count everyone once and only once in the right place. We're looking to count 330 million people in over 140 million housing units. So when we talk about the census, it's mandated by the Constitution in Article 1, Section 2. The first census was done in 1790, and we've been doing it every 10 years ever since. But this is the first time we've done it in a pandemic. So it's a very interesting time, very historical. The census is about representation and funding. So I often say it's about power and money. It's safe, it's easy, it's important because it's about power and money. So when we look at why we say power, it's because our House of Representatives seats come from census numbers. So in New York State, we have 27 House of Representatives, so that's the power. Our school districts, our congressional districts, that comes from census numbers. $675 billion a year in federal monies come from the census, so that's the money. If you watch the governor talk about how much money we send to DC, that is where that money comes from, the census numbers. And then it's a lot of things come from census numbers. One of the big things are Medicaid, SNAP, highway planning. Before the pandemic, I would always say every time you're in traffic, think of the census because of highway planning and community planning, your Section 8 housing, your special education. For our school districts, the Title I grants and funding is a huge part of our school districts, so that comes from census numbers. Our school lunch programs, our WIC, our Head Start, and our foster care all come from census dollars. Our health center programs. So during the pandemic, healthcare is a big issue. So we see how census numbers and census dollars play a role in our healthcare. Governments do a lot of planning with census numbers, and businesses use census numbers. When I look at an area, I'm gonna use census data to say, should I open up a business here? Will this business be supported? And they use that information from census data. So I see there's a question. Should I? Oh, am I wrong? Okay, so I see it's just the website. Okay. So it's safe, it's easy, and important. So why is it safe? Because everything is done under Title 13. Everyone who works for the Census Bureau has to take an oath that they will protect all data, not as long as they work for the Census Bureau, but for the rest of their life. So all the data is safeguarded. If anyone who works for the Census Bureau violates this, we can get 5 years in prison or $250,000 fine or both. And this is not just as long as we work for the Census Bureau, but for life. This is the first time that we're going to be able to do the census 4 ways. So the self response mapper I'll show you, that's the self-response for people who do it online, phone, and via paper. Then I'll show you, due to the COVID-19, we will send people out to count different than what we originally thought. So I'll show you that updated. But the census is easy. Everyone who does it online, it takes about 10 minutes. It's very simple questions: your name, your age, your date of birth, how many people live in the home, your relationship to person number one, your gender, and your race. It's very simple questions. What we do not ask is, we don't ask for any money. We don't ask anything on behalf of a political party. We do not ask anything for a full social security number. So if you are getting something that says it's the Census Bureau and it has that information, then that's not us. And that 1-800 number I showed you, you can report that to that number, that information to the fraudulent number. So the online and via the phone, we have these 12 languages. And I know it doesn't cover every language that we have in Suffolk County, but it will cover 99% of the homes. So it's a great way to make sure that the census is done. So there's over 20 phone numbers because it's every language that I showed, the 12 languages: English, Mandarin, and Cantonese. And then we have 2 English and Spanish numbers just for Puerto Rico. And then we have the TDD phone numbers. So there's over 20 phone numbers and they all end in 2020. So if you have someone telling you to use the phone system that's not that information, then you know it's fraudulent. And we have language guides also in 59 languages. So if someone is looking for another language, we have resources for that language as well. So this is what I was referring to in our changes. So our self-response time was going to be from March 12th to July 31st. But due to the pandemic, we have extended it from March 12th to October 31st. And we were going to begin non-response follow-up, and that's when we go out and knock on the doors for the people who have not self-responded. We were going to start that in May, but since we are not in the field doing that as of now, we are going to start that August 11th, and that will also end October 31st. This is an interactive map that we have on our website. This is our Rome mapper. It's very interesting because it gives the information from the American Community Survey. The one that I want to show you today is our response rate mapper, and that shows you how individuals are responding. So this is a screenshot of how we will look at the response rate mapper. So when you go to the website, your first thing that will pop up is the national information, and Alabama will always come up first because it is the first in the alphabet. And then it's color coded on the bottom here on the percentage of self-respond rate, and up here there's a link so you can see where you rank as a county, as a state, who's first, who's second. Then over here you can select date. So you can go back and forth from dates. The mode, you can look at internet or phone. And then this is the state, the county, the city, the congressional district, the town, and our tribal areas. So when we look at New York State, the national response rate is 60.6%. New York State, we're at 55.8%. So as a state, we are below the national average. But when we look at us as a county, we're right, like 0.1% below the national average, which is really good for Suffolk County because we have areas, what we call update leave areas. And that's areas where we actually go out and leave the census package for people to do because they don't have traditional mailing addresses. And in Suffolk County, we have over 28,000 areas for update leave, whereas Nassau County, we have about 1,500. So once those areas have their questionnaire, the percentage rate of Suffolk County will increase. So if we go to towns and we look at Patchogue, Patchogue is below the county rate and it's below the state rate. So I'm sorry, it's above the state rate. So this is how the area of Patchogue looks now. Any question about Patchogue in particular and how it looks? Let's see. Okay. So I'm going to end this and I want to bring, just see, bring. Let's go to a new window. So if we just put in 2020 census into Google, and we go to get the facts, and we go down to response rates, and we scroll down, it will give you a video of, sorry, a video. So if there's any information that I've given you that you want to see again in the video, that's available. And then the map is right there in the middle. So again, Alabama comes up first. And then you just click where you want to go. So if you want to go to New York, just like not, just click New York. And see, it comes right up. It'll show you the response rates for New York. And then you go through these areas to show which areas you, town, city, tribal areas, or however you want to go from there. So the ranking areas, you click here. So this is how you can see where you're ranked. So when we look at this, it shows different items. So let's see. So ranking by state, Minnesota is #1. So it's because it has a 70% response rate. So if we keep clicking down, so New York was 50 something. So we go up. Puerto Rico counts as part of the area. It's very, it seems like it's, sorry, it's being fickle. Every time I either go too hard or too, I don't see New York. New York, we were at 50. Usually try to go by number, but it's not working. So I'm just gonna have to click on the state. Click on New York. And can you see it? Okay, I think it's blocking me. Okay, here it goes. So it shows you New York. It shows you Nassau County is the highest ranked county in New York. The highest city is Sherrill, New York. And it gives the ranking of that information. So you can play with this. You can see how the population works and the ranges if you look right there. And you can choose just keep going down. There's a way to change the population, but it seems like it's so big. It's usually not this big. I'm gonna redo it to see if I can get it to go smaller. Okay, that's what it usually looks like. Okay, so when you go to the rankings, it'll show you the total So 48.7% of the national response has been done by internet. So it gives you nice totals here. It gives you the ranking by state, and that's what I was trying to show you, but it was, for some reason, it wasn't populating that way. And it's not, there we go. New York, we're 37 out of, on the ranking. It's right here, 55.8. So you just go. And, look, and then it shows the total amount of people who respond, how many people respond via internet, and how many people respond in other ways at this information. So it's really, really interesting to see the rankings. So when you look at New York, where we have highly populated areas, where a state may not have highly populated areas, you can change the population range, and that will show you a ranking that has more to do with the type of population that you have. So it's a very interesting way to look at it. So in order to see how Patchogue, I'll take you how I got there. So when you go choose New York, you'll choose county, and you'll choose Suffolk County, and then from there you can choose your town, and then that's how you can get Patchogue. So Suffolk. And then right here you'll choose town. You select the town. Actually, I think I'm wrong. I think
Can you show
Patchogue.
us Medford? Maybe because we're a village. I didn't notice if there was a separate.
Yeah, I'm wrong. It's probably it's in city. It's very weird. Sometimes I have to switch back and forth. Some towns are in towns, some towns are in city. There you go. It's easier for me to type it. And then it came up. So it's under city. And that's how I got the 56.8%. I see, let me see, is there questions? The response rate for Medford did not come up, so that's why I only showed Patchogue. But whatever the response rates for Patchogue-Medford, it would go to the same school district because it's one school district, if that makes sense. The self-response rate, to my knowledge, has never turned out. Oh, sorry, I should have said the question. The first question was, we serve Patchogue and Medford, so wondering about the response rate in Medford. Medford didn't come up when I put it in the system, but I can always find it out later and get back to you. And then when does the overall response turn out to be traditionally? Do we ever get to 100? So to my knowledge, we've never gotten to 100. When I talked to the county, the town of Smithtown, they said in 2010 did the best, and that was still about 70–80% response rate. So because we do not get that 100% response rate, that's why we have non-response follow-up, and that's why we send out people to do the count. There's a lot of obstacles. Some people don't trust government. They don't oh, sorry. What are the obstacles in getting the response rates? Some people don't trust government, so that's a big response. We're very busy people. So if you get something in the mail, you may just sit it down and you may not like fill it out. Some people don't understand how much money and power and how much information comes from the census, so they don't fill it out because they just don't know. Um, there's several, like, some people just feel like if they fill it out, something could happen to them, but everything's protected by Title 13, so there's no reason why they shouldn't do that. Should be worried about it, and it's so important. So it's so important. So we need to get the word out that it's okay to do the census, because you don't ever have to worry about us sharing your data. So I'm not sure if I answered. If there's any other questions. I just want to let you know to do the census, because I'm not sure if everyone here has done the census. All you have to do is go to my2020census.gov and start your questionnaire right here. And that's it. It takes like 10 minutes. So when I speak to people, I always ask that if you haven't done it, to please do it. And if you know 2 or 3 more people, just ask them to please do the census. The census is still hiring. So we were supposed to be out in May hiring, with the biggest hiring for the numerators. Now that it's to August, people who applied, we're not sure how that's going to go. So we're asking, so we're always going to have people still fill out the application, especially here in Suffolk County. Now I'll take you to that website. It's 2020census.gov/jobs. Numerators are 23, I believe they're $23.50 an hour. This application, the hardest part is the password. I always tell people that. The hardest part is the password, because most people don't use a 12-digit password with so many rules. It's a lot of rules. So you can fill that out anytime you want. Okay, so if you misplace your mailing, you could still do the census. That's no problem. You can call it in to one of those 20 numbers I sent you, or you just click Start Questionnaire and you click right here. Let's see. I do not have a census ID. Click here. So if you misplace your census ID, you just start the questionnaire, you click right here that you don't have it. You'll answer a few questions so that they can match your address with yourself, and that's it. And these are the languages, the 12 languages I spoke about. They're right here. You could just click on one of these 12 languages. And again, if you call one of the phone numbers and you explain to them that you misplaced your 12-digit code, or census ID, they can still do your census without it. And if there's anything that you did not see the website for, if you Google it, it'll come up as well. So if you Google census jobs or census response rate mapper, it'll come up. I don't see any other questions. Did anyone have questions? Is there anything I didn't cover that someone wanted to know about? So the self-response will end October 31st as well. So the question is, when is the deadline for filling it out? So October 31st will be the end of self-response. It will be the end of non-response follow-up as well. So that was the change due to COVID-19. It was supposed to be July 31st and has moved to October 31st. Okay, so I don't see any other questions, but I just want to make sure everyone understands that the census matters for our monies that we receive here on Long Island and our towns, and it's very important that we all fill it out so that we can all receive the proper budgeting and healthcare and community planning and all the information that the census goes to. It's very, very, very important.
Thank you, Nicole. If there are any other last minute questions, you can either unmute yourself or put them in the chat box. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us tonight. And hopefully everyone who's here has already done their census.
Yes.
Okay, I see no other questions. So I want to thank you again, Nicole, for all the information that you shared with us. Again, this presentation has been recorded, so it will be on our library's YouTube channel. If you want to watch it again, if you have any questions, you can email the library. We'll get you any information that you need. And I hope everybody stays safe and has a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.